You ever catch yourself in the middle of a fake argument, absolutely cooking the other person? Like you're in the shower, zoning out, and suddenly you're back in some conversation from months ago, saying all the things you should have said but didn't. And this time, you win. Your voice is calm, your points are brutal, you make them look stupid, and it feels great. Except none of it is real, the argument never happened, the person isn't even there. So, what's going on? Turns out, this weird habit of replaying fake fights isn't just a quirk. It's not you being dramatic or overthinking for no reason. It's your brain running simulations, like it's testing different versions of reality to prepare you for what might come next. And it's doing that through a system in your brain called the default mode network, a part of your mind that kicks in when you're not focused on anything in particular, like when you're zoning out, daydreaming, or standing in the shower imagining a verbal takedown. But this system isn't just there for fun. It's tied to how we reflect, how we plan, and how we protect ourselves from future social threats. And it's more powerful and more annoying than you probably realize. So what exactly is this default mode network your brain keeps falling back on? It's kind of like your mind's autopilot, the system that activates when you're not doing anything in particular. You're not writing an essay, you're not solving a math problem, you're just staring out the window, scrolling mindlessly, or brushing your teeth. But up here, your brain's actually busy as hell. This network lights up when you start daydreaming, imagining conversations, replaying memories, or thinking about how you looked in ninth grade and cringing so hard you physically flinch. It's your brain's internal simulation engine. It runs background scenarios, constantly analyzing your past, predicting the future, and most importantly here, rehearsing social situations. And it's really into drama. It doesn't just imagine random stuff. It gravitates toward things that feel unfinished arguments you lost, things you wish you'd said, awkward moments that made your stomach twist. That's why your brain picks that moment out of all the conversations you've had to play over and over again like a broken YouTube loop. Because to your default mode network, that argument wasn't just a conversation. It was a threat, a social one. And your brain wants to make sure you're better prepared next time. It's not about closure, it's about control. And your brain hates losing. Here's the wild part. Your brain doesn't just simulate arguments for fun, it does it for survival. Yeah, it sounds dramatic, but this goes deep. Back in caveman times, getting kicked out of the tribe could literally mean dying alone in the wild. So your brain evolved to take social conflict as seriously as a physical threat. It doesn't know the difference between a saber-toothed tiger and an awkward confrontation with your boss. So when someone insults you, embarrasses you, or even slightly undermines you, your brain hits the panic button. And if you don't deal with it properly in the moment, it files the whole situation away and says, cool, we'll rehearse this later, forever. That's why you end up playing fake arguments in your head at the worst times. Your brain's running what-if simulations. What if they say this next time? What if I say that? How do I not freeze up again? It's literally training. Like running a combat scenario, except the battlefield is a passive-aggressive group chat and your weapon is sarcasm. And the more intense the emotional hit was, the more your brain feels the need to go back, fix it, and prepare for a rematch. That's not pettiness, it's pattern recognition on steroids. Your brain isn't trying to torture you, it thinks it's protecting you. Let's be honest, most of these imaginary arguments don't end with you walking away gracefully. They end with you destroying the other person. You say the perfect thing. You hit them with logic, confidence, maybe even a little sarcasm. They're left speechless, humiliated, and you walk away like a legend. That's not an accident. That's your brain doing something called ego defense. When you feel powerless in real life, especially during a conflict, your brain builds this fantasy where you're the one in control. You rewrite the story, you come out on top, and that little fake win gives your ego the dopamine hit it didn't get when the actual situation went sideways. In psychology, this is called a revenge fantasy. It's a mental shortcut your brain uses to deal with unresolved anger, humiliation, or even guilt. You feel wronged, you can't fix it in real life, so you fix it up here where you control the script. It's kind of like emotional junk food. It tastes good, gives you a quick hit of satisfaction, but doesn't solve anything. In fact, the more you indulge in it, the worse it gets. Because now, your brain's reinforcing the fantasy version of events. You start craving that imaginary win more than real closure. You get stuck in this loop of mental arguments that feel good short term, but just keep the wound open longer. So yeah, fantasizing about winning arguments isn't weird, but if it's your go-to coping mechanism, you might just be feeding your ego instead of actually healing. Now here's where it gets messy. There's a difference between mental rehearsal and rumination, and most people have no clue which one they're doing. Mental rehearsal is your brain preparing. It's running a simulation, tweaking variables, figuring out how to handle a situation better next time. That's useful. But rumination, that's your brain getting stuck in the loop. Same scene, same outcome, same emotional gut punch over and over again. Instead of preparing for the future, you're reliving the past. You're not solving anything. You're just replaying the loss like it owes you something. And it's not harmless. Studies show that rumination is heavily linked to anxiety and depression. People who constantly replay social interactions or imagined arguments often experience higher stress, worse sleep, and a warped sense of reality. Because after enough replays, you stop remembering what actually happened. You start remembering your edited version, the one where you suffered more, lost harder, or should have fought back. The kicker, your brain doesn't care if it's real or fake. If you imagine that conflict enough times, the emotional response sticks. You'll feel the same tightness in your chest, the same anger, the same shame, even if it never actually happened that way. So yeah, Your brain thinks it's helping, but if you're not careful, it can drag you into a mental echo chamber where you keep rehearsing a fight you never planned to have just to feel like you didn't lose. So why does an argument, real or imagined, mess with you so much? Because your brain doesn't treat social conflict like just another awkward moment. It treats it like danger, real physical danger. When you get rejected, embarrassed, insulted, the same part of your brain that lights up when you get physically hurt goes off. We're talking about the anterior cingulate cortex. It's activated during both emotional pain and literal injury. Basically, your brain doesn't know the difference between they humiliated me in public and I stubbed my toe on a brick wall. Pain is pain. And unresolved social pain, that's the worst kind. That's why your brain keeps circling back. It wants closure, it wants safety, it wants control, and when it doesn't get that, it replays the event, tweaking it, obsessing over it, trying to figure out what went wrong so it never happens again. You're not overreacting. You're not too sensitive. You're just wired for survival in a world that doesn't punch you in the face anymore. It just makes eye contact, rolls its eyes, and ruins your week. And the brain doesn't forget those moments. Emotionally charged memories stick harder and last longer. It's how we learn what not to do. But in social conflict, that memory just loops because there's usually no clean resolution, no obvious lesson, just you, stuck with the echo of what you wish you said. So yeah, it's not all in your head. It is your head, and it's doing exactly what it was built to do, even if it drives you insane in the process. You know the feeling. You've played the argument in your head 10 times. You've won every version of it. So why the hell won't it stop? Simple. Your brain doesn't have closure. It's stuck in what's called an open loop, an unresolved situation that your mind keeps poking at because it hasn't figured out what to do with it yet. And here's the trap. Your brain is wired to complete patterns. It hates uncertainty. It hates unfinished stories. So when a conflict doesn't end cleanly when you didn't speak up, or you did and it went badly, your brain keeps asking, okay, so what should we have done instead? That loop only closes when it finds a satisfying answer. The problem is, most arguments don't come with a clean solution. There's ego involved, power dynamics, emotion. So your brain keeps digging and suddenly you're replaying a conversation from 3 years ago while brushing your teeth. Even worse, your brain thinks this is productive. It thinks obsessing over it might protect you in the future. Like if you rehearse the pain enough, maybe it won't happen again. But here's the truth. The more time you spend in that loop, the deeper it gets. You're not solving it, you're reinforcing it. You're teaching your brain that this argument is still important, still dangerous, still unresolved. And so the simulation keeps running. Alright, so we've established your brain is replaying imaginary arguments because it's trying to help you in the most annoying way possible. But now what? Here's the first move. Recognize the loop. If you can catch yourself mid-rant halfway through that mental monologue where you finally own your boss, or that one fake friend, just pause. Remind yourself, this already happened, or maybe never even did. And more importantly, you're not getting anything new out of it. Awareness doesn't make the loop disappear instantly, but it breaks the cycle long enough for you to regain control. The second move, shift your brain's energy. If it wants to solve something, give it something real to solve. Write it out. Journal the argument, but this time, don't win. Just describe what happened honestly. Ask yourself, what was I really feeling in that moment? What am I trying to protect now? Sometimes it's not about the argument at all. It's about feeling humiliated or ignored or powerless. The argument is just the scene. The emotion underneath is the real script your brain's obsessed with editing. And third, if this cycle is messing with your sleep, your mood, or your ability to move on from anything, look into CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy techniques. You don't have to go to a therapist right away. There are apps, books, even journaling prompts based on it. The goal is to train your brain to recognize distorted thinking before it runs wild. Because here's the truth. Your brain isn't the enemy. It's just doing what it was built to do, protect you. But protection without direction becomes obsession. And you're the only one who can choose whether to keep fueling that fake argument or finally let it fade.